There once was a man who played Slivers, who gave his audience shivers. He played with a grin and set out to win. Wow, that guy always delivers. That's right. Today we're playing some Slivers in Modern. I said to myself, you know, with Ixalan coming, there's lots of tribes getting some love, but not the Sliver tribe. So we're gonna give the Sliver tribe some love. I mean, don't you just want to give this guy a little hug and give him a pat on the head? I actually have a long and storied history playing with Slivers. It was one of the first decks that I played with and built. I used to play Dragons decks. My brother would play mono blue decks. My dad would play like mono white decks with Humility, and then we also had like mono black the Rack and Slivers decks. Those were our 5 sort of main decks that we built back when we first started playing, and Slivers was always a lot of fun. Now of course there are plenty of new Slivers from way back, many tens of years ago. So I'm going to revisit my slivery roots and play some Slivers, and it should be a lot of fun. So for the deck, going over some of the main cards, Collected Company is one of the main cards that makes the deck sort of tick, since there are a lot of cheap, amazing Slivers that you can hit, and plenty of good one-ofs to hit as well that Collected Company sort of helps you dig for, and plenty of just Lord Slivers that pump your entire team, so hitting multiples of them is pretty amazing as well, like Sedge Sliver, Predatory Sliver, and Sinew Sliver. Hitting multiples of those, and then just having a board full of beefy Slivers is a great way to win the game. Aether Vial is another sort of complementary card that allows you to get your Slivers online for free, and sort of gets around their many different colors of casting cost easily. And then you also have Sliver Hive, which helps fix your mana, and in the super late game helps you create Slivers, which is surprisingly relevant some of the time. And of course Cavern of Souls, naming Sliver, is going to help you cast your Slivers as well, and also make them uncounterable. And then you also have Mutavault, which is a Sliver. I think you're getting the theme of the day, which is Sliver. S is for Sliver. Then the rest of the mana base is trying to help you cast your Slivers. Mostly just adding green mana is the top priority for getting your fixing Sliver, your mana fixing Slivers, and Mana Weft and Gemhide Sliver. And the other priority of these lands is to get swamps for Sedge Sliver, since you need swamps to give your team +1/+1 with Sedge Sliver. So we have Verdant Catacombs to try and get us swamps and green sources, and we're doing the best we can. It's difficult to have perfect mana with Slivers, because there's so many different multicolored, colorful Slivers that you want to be trying to cast, and it's difficult to do that, although maybe not as hard as it seems, because you do have so many ways to sort of cheat the Slivers out, or just once you have Sliver Hive or Cavern of Souls, it's pretty easy to cast whatever Sliver you want. So other than that, we have Gale Rider Sliver, which gives your Slivers flying, which is great against any sort of creature decks, and it's also a 1-drop, which is really useful with like Mana Weft Sliver, curving out into Gale Rider and then Mana Weft, and then just dumping a handful of Slivers is pretty good. Diffusion Sliver we have against removal, makes it so your opponents have a difficult time casting their cheap removal spells on your Slivers. Dark Heart Sliver mainly against burn decks. It's obviously best there, but relevant in any sort of race situation. A good effect to have access to. Same with Siphon Sliver. Pretty much the same sort of logic goes there as well. And Blur Sliver gives haste to all your slivers, which is great with Aether Vial, Collected Company, and your mana slivers. Necrotic Sliver is sort of your best sliver against like land ramp decks, because you can just start tossing all your slivers to destroy their lands. And that's pretty much it. Also Dismember I like just as a cheap removal spell that's otherwise not easy to have access to, because you have so many lands that don't add colored mana. But Dismember can be cast for 1 mana, and you also have some black sources in the late game, or mana Weft Sliver if you don't want to take damage in the late game. So easy to cast for 1 mana, and also pretty easy to cast without hurting yourself in the late game. So that's the main deck. Sideboard, we have a bunch of one-ofs, a bunch of one-of slivers for whatever the situation requires of us. So Mind Lash Sliver is one of them. Allows you to turn your slivers into discard, which is a nice little effect to have against combo decks or control decks. Being able to keep them hellbent is pretty good. Warping Whale is for just the extra removal and countering sorceries mostly. I mean, not the most powerful card, but it's easy to cast, so that's why we like it, because we have so many ways to cast it. Dark Heart Sliver for burn, Siphon Sliver for burn, just extra of our best slivers in those matchups. Dismember for a bit more removal in the creature matchups. Descendant's Path, which is kind of a weird card. A good way to sort of draw cards in this deck that otherwise doesn't draw cards. I mean, it doesn't actually draw you cards, but it kind of draws you cards by putting slivers into play. And yeah, basically sifts through your deck to get you more slivers. Another Necrotic Sliver for the combo and land matchups. Frenetic Sliver just as a way to flip some coins when you need that effect. When you gotta flip some coins, you go to Frenetic Sliver. Good against decks with lots of removal. Same with Sliver Hive Lord if you're looking for indestructibility, just as sort of a trump card. Also just a cool card. So obviously we're tossing in a Sliver Hive Lord. Harmonic Sliver, 3 of, since it's just completely bonkers against artifacts and enchantments, since all your slivers blow up artifacts and enchantments once you have a Harmonic Sliver. And then Chalice of the Void, which is surprisingly great against the combo decks, and just against a lot of decks in general. Burn. And the nice thing about Chalice of the Void is you can say Chalice on 1 and then just cast Gale Rider Sliver anyways with Cavern of Souls, since it can't be countered. So that's a nice little added bonus, is that we have Chalice alongside Cavern of Souls. So yeah, that's the Sliver deck. I mean, this is kind of new territory for me as well, and I'm assuming it's mostly new territory for most people, because Slivers isn't a deck you see that often in Modern, but we're gonna see how it does. So let's play some Slivers.